Yo, what is up, my people? What's going on? I gotta think of a name for y'all, bro. I gotta give y'all a name. Y'all tell me in the comments what y'all name should be, bro. Everybody say squad, crew. But anyway, man, we're gonna jump into this one, bro. The title kind of threw me for a loop. I think I heard this story before, but I'm not sure. All right, it says the story of Big Lurch, the rapper who ate his roommate. Think I seen this before though. Like I not seen this, but heard this story. Let me say that. So, without further ado, y'all know I don't like to do long intros, bro. I like to just get right to the action. But before we do that, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, share the content. Please push me. Help me get into the algorithm, man. We trying to get this channel to really go somewhere, man. But anyway, we already at a minute. Oh no, that's too long. Let's go.
Carolyn thinks about what happened to her daughter.
And I feel everyone should know what happened to her because it was a brutal murder. He chewed a part of her intestine.
Hold up. I think, oh no. Hold up. What? You gotta be kidding me, right?
Do you know that you were actually chewing on her flesh, allegedly, when the cops came?
No, I didn't know. The next thing I remember is waking up in a room by myself.
The radio call came out, a tall woman dressed in a red dress walking in traffic. The radio car arrived and he was naked, covered in blood. He had her heart under his arm.
On April 10th, 2002, a woman made a
What? Did he just say he had her heart on his arm? Bro, I'm not even gonna pause. Let's go.
911 call after seeing a naked man covered in...
Hold on. Before we even go any further, y'all already know how I do, man, how we do. Jesus Christ, Lord, my Savior. Please protect our mind, ears, and eyes from all this demonic stuff, because you already know this is straight spiritual warfare with these type of stories right here, bro. Please, Lord, protect us as we watch this. In your name I pray. Amen.
blood wandering the street, mumbling and chewing while staring up at the sky. The police assured her officers were on the way, but urged her to keep her distance. Understandably freaked out, she hung up and rushed to her friend's apartment, only to be met with a horrific scene. Her 21-year-old friend, Tynisha Isais, was lying in a pool of blood, her body brutally mutilated with bite marks all over her face and chest. Even more disturbing, her chest was ripped open, exposing her organs.
But a mother named...
Bro, now I do remember hearing vaguely of this story, but I didn't know all the details. This is crazy, bro. What was due on? First of all, I need y'all to go over the Hood War Chronicles, because there's no way that this video came out 8 days ago and it only got 3.4K, bro. This story is too crazy to only have those little bit of views. I mean, that's good views, but I'm saying for a channel of his magnitude, this, come on. Could you imagine being the mother, getting that phone call, and then the officer that has to tell the mother and describe what happened? Like, that's bone chilling, bro. I wouldn't want to be that officer for nothing, bro. I would not want to have to explain that to nobody, bro. To nobody.
Carolyn thinks about what happened to her daughter.
And I feel everyone should know what happened to her because it was a brutal murder. He chewed a part of her intestine.
The naked man's identity was initially a mystery because when questioned, he only responded with growls and animalistic noises. But once they processed him, the police...
Bro, you can't tell me that's just mental illness, bro. I'm telling y'all, bro, spiritual warfare is real. Whether you believe in a higher power or not, doesn't matter. Doesn't negate the fact. Come on, man.
Police were stunned to discover that he was none other than Antron Singleton, aka Big Lurch, a rising star in the hip-hop world. Big Lurch was making waves in the rap scene, collaborating with big names like Mystical, Mac Dre, and E40. So how did a promising rapper end up accused of such a gruesome crime? To understand what happened that night, we have to rewind. Antron Singleton, better known by his stage name Big Lurch, was born on September 15, 1976. Even as a kid, he showed a creative spark, writing poetry at the age of 7 and later developing a love for rap. By the time he was 15, he was performing at local events under the name G-Spade before eventually rebranding himself as Big Lurch. His stage name was inspired by the character Lurch from the Addams Family, a nod to his towering 6'6" frame. Lurch's rap career really started to pick up steam in the late 90s. After gaining some local buzz in Texas, he decided to take a leap and move to the Bay Area, San Francisco, to further his career.
I was an underground Dallas rapper before I ever came to California and got in the game in the Bay Area.
His father lived there, and the Bay had a vibrant music scene that offered more opportunities. Shortly after arriving, Lurch connected with key figures in the West Coast rap community, including rapper Ma Mal, who was tight with Tupac and Mac Dre, and was also cousins with E40, Be Legit, and Sway Calloway. Through these connections, Lurch was introduced to producer
Now Lurch low key look like Lurch though. Now he not just the height, like his facial features that's crazy.
Mike Mosley, who had worked with some heavy hitters like Tupac, E40, Richie Rich, and more. This move turned out to be a smart career choice. Soon, Lurch was featured on E40's 1996 album The Hall of Game on the track Record Haters, and also made an appearance on the song How We Comin' by RBL and Mystical.
We get split quick, fucking with this, you don't understand. This ain't your rich man.
Around this time, he linked up with Brick Rock and Doy Baby, and the trio decided to form a group called Cosmic Slop Shop. The group signed a deal with MCA Records and dropped their debut album, The Family, in 1998. Although the album got positive reviews, it didn't perform as well commercially as they had hoped, which ultimately led to the group disbanding before they could record a second album. Despite the group's breakup, Big Lurch's talent didn't go unnoticed. He had a deep, distinct voice that set him apart, and his collaborations with big names in the industry kept him relevant. His career was still full of potential, but even with the rising popularity, he was struggling financially. In 1999, Big Lurch was featured on Mac's track Fire, adding another highlight to his music career. Though there had been
Yeah, dude actually does have a real unique sound. Like it's tone of his voice, I mean. Like the flow, that was a popular flow in that like late 90s era. But yeah, he had something. It just the labels just wasn't like backing
some
him.
bumps along the way, his trajectory in the rap game seemed promising. But as the 2000s rolled in, two major tragedies would rock his personal life, setting him down a darker path. The first tragedy struck when his grandmother passed away, a loss that deeply affected him. Then, just one day after his 24th birthday, on September 16, 2000, another life-altering event occurred. He was driving when a drunk driver crashed into his car, breaking his neck and leaving him in a coma. The accident nearly offed him, and when he finally came out of the coma, he was left with severe chronic pain and difficulty walking. While in the hospital, doctors kept him heavily medicated to manage the pain. But once he was released, he was still far from fully recovered.
And right after me and Mac Dre did that fire in Vallejo, and my grandmother died. I had a car wreck. I broke my neck.
Struggling to deal with the lingering pain and physical limitations, Big Lurch made a fateful decision. He turned to PCP, also known as
Now I know a lot of y'all gonna say, "Oh, it's just because he was high was why he was doing what he was doing." But what led to him going to the drugs was the trauma, and trauma usually leads to that spiritual takeover, bro. That's what demons latch on to, bro. I don't want to. I'm not trying to preach, y'all. I'm not trying to preach. I'm not, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
angel dust in a desperate attempt to self-medicate. What started as a way to manage pain quickly spiraled into a dangerous addiction. PCP, originally developed as an anesthetic, was notorious for its intense side effects, which included severe hallucinations, numbness, and distorted sensory perceptions. People high on the drug have been known to do violent and horrifying things, both to themselves and others. In later
So listen to what that drug does, right? So we not gonna act like that's not demonic. I know a lot of people throw that word around. I know, but hear me out. We not gonna act like that's not the devil's doing to create something that terrible, right? That's a terrible drug. And I think to this day, there's still people that take that drug, bro. That drug is still available. It's not as common, but still. Come on, man.
interviews like the one he did with Vlad TV, Big Lurch claimed that he had never tried PCP before the night of the Emder. However, in the 2011 documentary Rhyme and Punishment, he admitted that he had begun using the drug to ease his
I knew I seen him before. I seen that documentary. I knew I seen dude before, bro, but I couldn't just quite put my finger on it, bro. I knew it.
chronic pain after the car accident. Whatever the truth, the drug would soon become a central part of the horrific events that would unfold in 2002. After the crash, despite his struggles, Big Lurch was still a talented artist, and record labels started reaching out to help him bounce back. He ended up signing with Black Market Records, BMR, owned by Milton Grimes, who was not only a well-known lawyer but also had deep ties to the music industry.
Few labels took it upon themselves to act as if they was gonna help me. You know, you down and out, you broke your neck, we wanna nurse you back to help and help you do an album.
Even though things seemed to be looking up with the New Deal, tensions soon began to rise.
And you know what's so crazy about how the devil works, bro? The devil made him focus on the negative side of things, right? He lost his grandmother, he got into this bad accident, he got to get back right. But he couldn't be clear enough and cognizant enough to focus on the positive that God saved his life. How many people get into an accident and break their neck and survive, bro? Broke his neck and survived.
Big Lurch didn't feel comfortable with the atmosphere at BMR's studio, and part of the reason was that many of the label's members were affiliated with the Crips, while Lurch himself was a Blood. This created friction, and eventually he decided to move back to Texas to get away from the tension.
I started working on the album, all of a sudden, they turn into all their gangbang colors come out. You know, they crippin' and all this in the studio. Well, hold on, dog. Y'all know who I was when you met. You said this was gonna be professional. And now all of a sudden I'm in the studio uncomfortable because all your Crip homeboys is up in here. Now all of a sudden y'all want to play night and all this. And
despite his connection,
See why I say this is what I'm talking about with gang culture. That's why it's messed up. Look, gang culture caused him to lose an opportunity, bro. On both sides messed up. Like his reaction and both them too. Like why they do that? Why they do that? They couldn't have just respected it and been like, look, man, we getting bread together. That's what I'm saying. That culture is destructive, bro. I'm sorry if I offend anybody who's a gang member, but you know, we got to take a deep look inside, bro, and really see what it is.
in the industry, Lurch was still struggling financially. He wanted to finish his album, but without the funds, he resorted to selling drugs to make ends meet. It wasn't long before he was caught and sent to jail on drug charges.
Oh, boy.
Fortunately for him, Milton Grimes, despite their differences, stepped in and offered to help him with his case. Grimes' support led to Lurch being released on bail, and in return, Lurch promised to finish the album for Black Market Records. Around this time, Big Lurch's music took a much darker turn. The deaths of Tupac and Biggie had shifted the landscape of gangster rap, and Lurch began diving into a subgenre called horrorcore, a style known for its graphic and often violent lyrics. Horrorcore rappers like Eminem, the Ghetto Boys, and Insane Clown Posse often rapped about gruesome topics, serial KERs, and horror movie villains. Lurch followed.
Bro was doing everything to go down the path that he shouldn't have been going down, bro. And I know it might be some horrorcore fans and all of that, bro. That music is demonic, bro. That music is demonic. Talking about killing people and severing them up and all kind of gruesome stuff. Like, bro, come on. What we talking about here? Like, even when I used to listen to rap, right? That's one that side of the music, like when Eminem used to get in that bag talking about his baby mom and how he wanted to kill her and all. I couldn't rock with that, bro. I couldn't rock with it. It was weird to me. It just gave me a weird feeling inside, bro. I couldn't rock with it. Hey, listen, some of y'all might be huge Eminem fans, but I'm sorry, that side of his music turned me off. I didn't like that. Anytime he started talking about that stuff, bro, I was lost. I ain't like it. Just like I wasn't a big 3 6 Mafia fan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know some of y'all might love 3 6 Mafia, but I heard like 2 tracks, and one of them the one with Gangsta Boo was like, I'm the devil's daughter or something crazy. It turned me off, bro. I couldn't get in with it. I couldn't get jiggy with it. I couldn't get jiggy with it. Couldn't get jiggy with that shit, man. Straight up, straight up. That music always gave me a weird, eerie feeling when I would hear it. Just the sound of the beats and what they was talking about. Sometimes they be on the album covers looking real crazy. Nah, I was never a fan of that. So, and I always felt that music was like that. So, yeah, bro. The more you listen, the more you realize how he ended up in that predicament. And I listen. I'm not trying to preach, like I said. We gotta address the elephant in the room, man. That's spiritual warfare, bro.
Followed suit, frequently referencing notorious figures like Jeffrey Dahmer and villains like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees in his songs. His music began to reflect more and more.
What I just say? What I just say, bro? That ain't weird to people? Referring to Jeffrey Dahmer, idolizing them. That's what a lot of them do. They idolize serial killers, bro. Come on, man.
Disturbing themes, as he seemed to be grappling with his personal demons through his art. After beating his drug case, Lurch returned to LA, but the tension with Black Market Records hadn't disappeared. Instead of staying at the label, he began associating more with local LA gang members, many of whom were heavy users of PCP. His involvement with this crowd only deepened his addiction, and he moved into a drug house with a roommate named Thomas SM, a known gang member. Thomas was also
Yo, it's getting worse. Every time he says something new, it's just getting worse and worse. You went from being on PCP to now moving into a drug house, bro, so that now you can have access to just keep getting high all day.
dating Tynesha Ace, the woman who would tragically become the victim in the horrific Emder that would later make headlines. In 2002, while Big Lurch was working on his album in LA, he found himself at a party in his apartment with a few friends. Things took a dark turn that night when Big Lurch and his crew started taking PCP. The most common method at the time involved dipping cigarettes in a liquid form of the drug, and according to Lurch, they kept feeding it to him, to the point where it felt unusual. The next thing he knew, he woke up in jail with a Emder charge hanging over him.
Listen to what he just said. It felt weird. They kept feeding it to him. Don't sound like something demonic going on? Like they purposely giving it to him so that some wild stuff could happen? Let's continue though.
Completely unaware of how he'd ended up there. It wasn't until 2 weeks later that he began to comprehend the gravity of the situation, claiming he had no memory of what happened that night.
I was in LA County Jail for like 2 weeks when I woke up. When I came to, because you'd be stuck. You could be walking around but not know what's going on. Well, when I came to,
Again, 2 weeks when he came to? 2 weeks, bro. That drug had him stuck for 2 weeks. We gonna just ignore it.
being stuck, I had been in LA County for 2 weeks. I had been arraigned and everything.
His last conscious thought before the horrifying incident was a hallucination in which he believed the world was ending, and he needed to find and off the devil. As the story goes, after smoking the PCP that night, increasingly unstable. High on the drug, he kicked and he needed to find and off the devil. As the story goes, after smoking the PCP that night, Lurch became increasingly unstable. High on the drug, he kicked everyone out of the apartment except for his roommate's girlfriend, Tynesha Isais. What followed was beyond horrifying. He reportedly came up behind Tynesha and struck her in the back of the head with a child's scooter, knocking her to the ground. Then, in a violent frenzy, he got on top of her and stabbed her multiple times in the chest with a knife. It didn't stop there. Lurch then ripped her chest open, exposing her internal organs, and pulled out her lung, biting into it. Teeth marks were later found on both her face and lungs. After the gruesome murder, Lurch fled outside, naked and covered in blood. A neighbor and friend of Tynesha's, Alyssa Allen, saw him through the window and immediately called the police, alarmed by the bizarre and terrifying sight. When the officers arrived, they found Lurch in the middle of the street, completely naked, barking like a dog, and yanking out his own hair. His body was smeared with blood and he was clearly not in his right mind. Following his arrest, medical tests revealed human flesh in his stomach, confirming that he had consumed parts of Tynesha's body. However, Lurch himself remained in a state of confusion for a full 2 weeks, completely unaware of his surroundings. When his trial began, the evidence against him was overwhelming. Not only did they have the crime scene and his erratic behavior, but the prosecution also used his music as a key part of their case. They got early access to his album It's All Bad, which included a track called I Did It to You. The lyrics were disturbingly similar to the crime he had committed. In the song, he rapped about K-ing for fun, using torture chambers, and waking up in a puddle of blood. Another verse detailed flashbacks of being called the Devil's Son, referencing violent urges and his baptism. The prosecution argued that these lyrics were not just fictional, but reflected Lurch's real-life obsession with AM and violence, which had culminated in the horrific M of Tynesha Isais. For the jury, it wasn't difficult to connect the dots. The violent themes in his music, combined with the brutal evidence, painted a picture of someone who had been fascinated by dark, twisted acts long before the crime took place. It took the jury less than an hour to deliberate, and on November 7th, 2003, they found
less than an hour to deliberate. That was a no-brainer. That was a no-brainer.
him guilty of first-degree M, torture and aggravated mayhem. Big Lurch was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But even with the conviction, many still question whether this is truly what happened on that fateful night. According to Tynesha Isais' mother, Carolyn Stinson, the whole situation is even more complicated than it seems. She doesn't believe that Big Lurch was the one who actually offed her daughter. In fact, she's convinced that it was Tynesha's boyfriend at the time who was responsible for the brutal M.
As far as her boyfriend, he was a gang member. I believe he the one set all this up. He was beating on her. She had all her stuff packed, ready to leave.
Stinson believes her daughter was offed by him, and that after Singleton, who was high on PCP, found her lung on the floor, he began to eat it, thinking it was just a piece of meat. Stinson even visited Big Lurch in jail to tell him that she knew he was innocent and to forgive him for the tragedy that unfolded.
I'll never forget, what happened to her, but yeah, I forgave him. PCP, and he tripped. He saw that piece of lung lying on the floor, and he, probably figured it was a piece of meat or whatever. Took it and started chewing on it. But as far as him, no, I don't believe that.
It's no surprise that Singleton echoes these claims, insisting that he was set up. According to him, he was purposely drugged so others could take advantage of him. This is where things start getting eerie and even more unsettling. When the police conducted a medical examination of Tynesha's body, they found PCP in her system. The strange part, her mother said Tynesha didn't use drugs, and even if she had, the amount of PCP found in her bloodstream was so high that it would have been lethal. It just wasn't possible for her and Singleton to have smoked that much PCP on their own. Singleton claimed that someone had poured the drug down both his and Tynesha's throats without their knowledge, and that they hadn't willingly ingested it.
Somebody pulled it down, the bottle was pulled down her throat. Because she had so much in her system, they said ain't no way she could have smoked that much.
The story takes another bizarre twist when it comes to the evidence. The Emder weapon was a child's scooter, and there was a bloody handprint on it that didn't match Singleton's prints. Not only that, but there were also bloody fingerprints and footprints found at the scene that didn't belong to either Singleton or Tynesha. This raised serious questions about what really happened that night, but it was all overlooked during the trial. There was also no mention of Singleton's pit bull, which was present during the crime. The bite marks found on Tynesha's body were never tested to see if they matched Singleton's teeth, all because of his attorney's strategy. His attorney, Milton Grimes, pushed for an insanity defense, advising Singleton to admit to the Emder and claim temporary insanity in hope.
Okay. I just put the piece together right there. Once they said, remember, his attorney was the same dude that he was doing music with. The label, he said that he already things wasn't going good. So therefore, he probably had something to do with this whole thing. This is definitely sounds like a setup, bro. This definitely sounds like a setup, bro. That's crazy. This joint took a crazy twist.
Of getting a lighter sentence.
The dog in that house. Now, Milton Grimes never brought up the dog or nothing in the case. He told me we need to make this look as worse as we can.
Grimes, a well-respected lawyer at the time, told Singleton that if he took this route, he would only spend a few years in jail and be released soon after. But this defense was flawed from the start. In California, you can't claim insanity if you willingly took a substance that led to the crime unless there's a pre-existing mental illness. Despite this, Grimes moved forward with the insanity plea, never mentioning that Singleton had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
First of all, that's a good law, because at the end of the day, you should not be able to plead insanity, but you're on a substance like that. You willingly took the substance, then you got to pay the consequence. That right there shows you he was trying to throw him under the bus, bro. They was trying to get him up out of there. I don't know what problems they had internally with him and the label, but it was deep. For them to go through all of this, yeah. I'm not saying that he conspired the whole entire thing. I do think that what the mother said was true too, that the boyfriend had some issues. He was putting his hands on her and stuff like that. And he used this as an opportunity. But I also feel like he probably, the lawyer looked at this as an opportunity to get him up out of here. You know what I'm saying? So he just jumped on the opportunity. Now, again, it could be that the lawyer conspired the whole thing. He could have paid dude to do this and been like, yo, this is how you going to do it. Blah, 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 blah. We don't know. But this is wild.
Order years earlier, which could have helped his defense. Singleton, for his part, wasn't even aware of what was happening during the trial. From the moment he was jailed, he had been put on Haldol, a powerful antipsychotic drug commonly used to chemically restrain people experiencing acute psychosis, often caused by drugs like PCP. As a result, Singleton was unable to speak up for himself or even fully understand what was happening. He wasn't able to defend himself in any meaningful way.
So when I'm in court, I don't know what's going on. You got me in.
So they drugged him to set this up, and then they drugged him to shut him up. Wow. They drugged dude to set him up and then drugged him afterwards to shut him up when it was time for him to stand up for himself and speak up for himself. That's messed up, bro. That's messed up. And it's messed up that even though he was doing drugs, he was doing all the PCP and all that, they need to fix this. They need to fix this, bro. Somebody needs to take this case on and try to see if they could get it overturned, because that's not cool, bro. That's not cool.
Mental health, I'm on Haldol. And then you tell me not to take the stand, and then total twist.
Grimes' mishandling of the case didn't stop there. Years later, it came to light that Grimes was ordered to pay $1.2 million to the family of a man fatally shot by Gardena police. The court found that Grimes had failed to properly handle the family's civil wrongful death case. Some believe that Grimes intentionally botched Singleton's case to gain favor elsewhere. which only adds to the strange and questionable nature of the entire trial. As if all that wasn't bad enough, the record label Singleton was signed to wasted no time profiting off the situation. Right after his conviction, they released his debut album, It's All Bad Without His Permission.
There it is. There it is. Kill two birds with one stone. Put out his music, recoup whatever royalties, recoup whatever advance they gave him, right? Put his album out. It's going to now take off because he's in the news, he's in the media, and then they could get rid of him because they was already having trouble with him anyway. That's almost like when these labels, we know, be behind killing these artists, bro. That's pretty much the same thing they just did to dude. They want to kill an artist because the artist went out of the label. So they take the artist out, then they put out a gang of music, and they make a whole bunch of money off of it. Same thing.
Complete with a photoshopped image of Singleton holding a skull on a platter. They also produced a documentary titled Drugs Made Me Do It, using his story as a way to generate publicity. This wasn't the first time the label exploited Emder for profit. They had previously done the same with rapper X-Rated, releasing his music while he awaited trial for a Emder charge, which he was later convicted of. This trial, with its twists and turns, remains one of the most bizarre and controversial in hip-hop history. From the gruesome Emder to the questionable handling of the evidence and the strange court proceedings, the whole case leaves behind more questions than answers. And while Antron Singleton,
I gotta look up and see if anybody did a documentary on X-Rated, bro. Hey, let me know if any of y'all that know about that story with X-Rated, if y'all know a good documentary, please put it down, pin that joint in the comments, bro. Please put a link, bro, because yeah, bro.
sits in prison, the truth about what happened that night may never be fully known. One thing we should never forget, though, is the real victim in this story, Tynesha Isais. Her life was tragically cut short in a brutal and unimaginable way, and she was laid to rest after suffering a horrific fate. At the end of the day, it's her life that was lost, and her memory that should be honored. Rest in peace, Tynesha Isais. Was justice really served? Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Hey, man. Hey. Yo, that story was wild. Took a lot of twists and turns. It started off one way and then it just went another way. This is a sad story. This is traumatic. I know the family, you know, who had to suffer through this, all her family members, her friends. This is wild. But anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about this one, man. I'm out, y'all. Peace.